My name is Jason Palitsch, and I am proud to be a candidate for state representative in the 11th Worcester District. I am running because Shrewsbury and Westboro deserve to have a strong, effective voice on Beacon Hill, and I have the right experience, the drive, and the passion needed to be that voice. Having the right combination of experience, both as a local official in Shrewsbury serving on the school committee and as a former legislative aide, I know what it takes, and I'm ready to be the voice that Shrewsbury and Westboro need on day one. My family came to Shrewsbury before my second birthday at a time when a lot of families were finding Shrewsbury and Westboro, and a lot of families found these two communities for the same reasons: for the quality of the public schools, for the high quality of living, and for the character of these communities. Growing up in Shrewsbury and going to Shrewsbury schools shaped my values and molded me into the person that I am today. I'm a proud product of Shrewsbury Public Schools, K through 12, and I received an outstanding education there that prepared me well for college and the workforce. But growing up in Shrewsbury and coming through our schools did more than prepare me academically. It instilled in me the value of community service and of giving back. It taught me about personal responsibility. It taught me about respect for others, working collaboratively, and being a participant in a community that celebrated diversity. As much as my passion for community service drives me to give back to Shrewsbury, it was growing up in Shrewsbury that instilled that drive in me in the first place. That drive took root while I was still in high school, as I got involved in efforts to support Shrewsbury Public Schools through the early period of some long, dark days. I experienced firsthand the cuts being made to Shrewsbury schools all around me as a student, which sparked a lifelong involvement in this community. I've stayed involved, having served as a town meeting member from Precinct 9 since I was 19 and where I continue to live today. While studying at Northeastern, I worked as a legislative aide to our state senator, Mike Moore, who again I'm so pleased to have here tonight, serving the people of the 2nd Worcester District, including Shrewsbury. The 3 years that I spent in the senator's office gave me valuable, hands-on, direct experience with the legislative process and what it takes to get things done. I've worked directly on legislation, seen bills through the committee process, rounded up co-sponsors. I've also handled constituent calls, helping residents who were having an issue or a problem with state government, whether it was a senior citizen who was having difficulty accessing benefits, or a local business that was having a problem with a regulatory agency. I know what it takes to get things done in state government, and that's the experience I'm going to bring to bear for the people of the 11th Worcester District. For the past year and a half, I've been proud to work in public affairs on behalf of Veterans Inc., a 501c3 nonprofit serving veterans in need and their families across New England. Working for Veterans Inc. as an advocate has given me real insight into the challenges facing our veterans, both those veterans newly returning home from combat after multiple deployments, and also an older generation of elder veterans who are just now struggling with a challenging economy and a fixed rate of living. And it's also given me insight into the fact that so many of our service members continue to struggle economically or face homelessness or severe mental health challenges despite our society's commitment ostensibly to helping those veterans. This work is also giving me insight into the issues of homelessness, access to shelter, affordable housing, substance abuse, and the availability or lack thereof of sufficient mental health services. And in 2012, when the challenges facing our schools reached a crisis point, I took the plunge and ran for a seat on the Shrewsbury School Committee, becoming the youngest person, as was mentioned, ever elected to that body, where I'm proud to still serve today as the vice chairperson. Being a school committee member has always meant more to me than just public service. It's been a choice to give back to the school district that helped mold me into the person that I am today. I'm very proud of our accomplishments in Shrewsbury schools over the past 3 years. We've expanded access to technology in the classroom while eliminating the accompanying fees. We've updated and adapted our curriculum to better prepare students for the era we face. And we've sustained a culture of high achievement, efficiency, and innovation, even in the face of the most daunting financial challenges. But as I look forward, it's clear to me that the focal point of our challenges have moved to the state level. Here in Shrewsbury, we've successfully tackled some of the biggest issues our town has faced here at home, from the library to the need for additional local revenues. Now we need to turn our attention to Beacon Hill. I'm going to be a strong voice who stands up for our communities in the legislature, and I have the experience to do just that, knowing what it takes to get things done, but more importantly, knowing the local issues. I've got the right combination to be the voice we need and ready to serve this district effectively on day one. What are my priorities as state representative? Number one, supporting our public schools. As a school committee member, I know firsthand the challenges our district face as a result of increasing financial pressure, mounting mandates, and rapid changes in the field of education. As a product of Shrewsbury schools, I have a passionate commitment to being a strong voice for our districts in both Shrewsbury and Westboro. It's never been more important than in the coming session of the legislature for Shrewsbury and Westboro to have a strong voice in the process with regard to our public schools. The Commonwealth will soon revisit the Chapter 70 formula for providing state funding to our school districts, and communities like ours need to be a part of that conversation to ensure that we're not left out in the cold. I also oppose lifting the cap on charter schools. While there are successful charter programs with which I have no qualms, Shrewsbury and Westboro public schools perform very well, and expanding the number of charters is funding taken away from our schools, money out of our pockets, without benefiting our districts or our students in return. And supporting our schools isn't just a necessity for students and parents. Ensuring that we receive the support that we need and deserve from the state will help protect our seniors and those in need from the need to further dip into our local property taxes here at home. Fighting unfunded mandates. As a school committee member, nobody has to tell me about unfunded mandates. I will stand up and say no to unfunded mandates in the House. When something makes sense as a public policy at the state level, we need to provide the resources to back it up, instead of ordering the meal and then sticking the check with our cities and towns. Additionally, I'll push to have mandates which require onerous staff time for compliance recognized as unfunded mandates, and advocate for relaxation of those and financial support as appropriate. Promoting job growth. I'll fight to make sure Central Massachusetts and the 495 corridor are a focus of conversations about spurring economic growth in Massachusetts, in particular as they relate to healthcare, biotechnology, and higher education. Improving access to our state colleges and universities is also, to me, a key part of maintaining our competitive edge for our state and in our region. The cost of college in our public system, even in our community colleges, is getting out of reach due to high fees for many of those looking to retrain for a new career or career advancement, or those looking to enter the workforce for the first time or re-enter the workforce after a long period of unemployment. Protecting family economic stability. I'm for making sure that earned sick time, which passed the ballot box this past fall, not only statewide but also in our district here at home, is implemented the way voters intended, so that families where a working parent is struggling from illness don't face financial ruin. I'm also opposed to new taxes or tax increases at the state level. Families are still struggling as we wait for jobs and wages to recover at the rate that we would like, and I think that we need to reprioritize at the state level in order to support needed new investments. And I'm for a strong minimum wage for every working individual, which we all know lifts our economy and helps stabilize families economically, something that is going to emerge as a key difference in this race. Combating the opiate abuse crisis gripping Massachusetts and the Northeast. Working for Veterans Inc., an agency that, of course, provides mental health services and substance abuse counseling, I have real insight into the serious public health and safety crisis that has gripped the region. I'm a strong supporter of expanding the number of available detox beds as part of helping to address the issue, and supporting innovative programming to bring increased mental health services to the young people supported by our public school districts. I applaud Massachusetts for being one of the first states to require insurers to cover up to 14 days of inpatient detox earlier this year. To me, it is a tragedy whenever somebody in the grip of addiction chooses to get help but is thwarted by an inability to access treatment or other needed services. Failing to address this crisis will cost us as a state in terms of public safety expenses, emergency room care, and stresses on our public school students. I also want to applaud the Attorney General-elect for making this issue a focus of hers, and I'm so pleased to have her support. I'll be an ally of hers in the legislature. She fights to strengthen the prescription monitoring program and ensure that addressing this crisis moves to the forefront where it needs to be. And reform, and standing up to the powers that be on Beacon Hill. I have never been a go-along to get along person, and any of my colleagues on the school committee will either distressingly or pleased tell you just that. I stand up for what is right, not what party or politics dictate. I've stood up to my own party. I was proud to fight alongside Senator Moore in his efforts to prevent the closure of the Glavin Center here in Shrewsbury, against the efforts of our now former governor, who's of the same party. I know that to be a truly effective voice in the legislature, you need to see beyond the party label. I'll work with anyone who has the best interest of our district at heart, and I will stand up to anyone who does not. This This is going to be a very competitive race. I walked into this with my eyes open, and I have no illusions about the challenges ahead of us over the next 11 weeks. My opponent will work hard to hold this seat for my party. She is my friend, and I respect her, having worked alongside her in the past. But there are real differences in this race, in experience and in how we approach issues. My experience is substantive and of real relevance to this role. Family economic stability is key to me, and that means protecting a strong minimum wage, not lowering it for some, as we know that a strong minimum wage has always correlated to stronger economic growth. We in this room are going to have to engage voters and talk with them about the issues that are critical in this race. My opponent is well organized, well funded, and she and her supporters will work hard. But we will work harder. How I'm going to win is simple. I'm going to talk to as many voters as possible, one-on-one. We started on the doors a few days after this race broke open. I remember the Sunday after the race broke open, Tim and I had tickets to the Detroit's Lions game down at Gillette Stadium, and Kate Donahue made a point of telling me, you're giving up those tickets so you can get on the doors off of Fisher Street, which we did, and I was actually really surprised people didn't mind talking to me during commercial breaks from the game. We started going on doors a few days after this race broke open, and we've been going strong ever since. But I need your help. I need you on the doors and on the phones with me. In the coming days, we're going to be announcing a new campaign headquarters. Stop in and make phone calls if you can, or pick up a walk packet to get on the doors. The response that I receive on the doors and the response that those of you who have volunteered receive on the doors and the phones has been fantastic. But we need all of you to be a part of that. That's how we win. Some of you have had the experience of working with me on campaigns in the past, and some of those might have looked daunting, challenging, or even unwinnable, and you saw my relentless focus on one-on-one voter contact. And those of you who have had that experience with me know that it works. And those of you who have done it with me or for me in this race know that the response we've been getting is strong and encouraging. I can do this, and I hope you'll stand, or better yet, walk with me. You know, just to close, just the other day I had the opportunity to participate in a community meeting with a few dozen residents of the Stony Hill Road neighborhood regarding a proposed 40B housing development project right along Route 20. And a big group of us stood out, bundled up in the cold, walking from one side of the site to the other. I was struck by a few things. I was struck by the lack of access to resources or even pedestrian sidewalks that families in need might have in this ostensibly supportive housing. I was struck by the lack of consideration for our community in the proposal. But what struck me most of all was the sense that I felt from the residents who participated that nobody was listening to them. I've been fortunate to have friends in that particular neighborhood my whole life, and I know them. I've been fortunate to represent them in Precinct 9 as a town meeting member. They care about our schools. That's often why they chose to live here. They have family who have been in town for years, and they care about real access to real affordable housing for families in need. They look at what's going on at the state level, and they feel isolated from state government. They see a particular policy not working and in serious overhaul, and they feel their voices are falling on deaf ears. It's a sense I get also as I knock on doors across the district. It's a sense of distance that many in this area feel from the policies that come out of Boston. And that's what I'm running to change. I am going to be an accessible, available state representative who can stand up to Beacon Hill when they get things wrong without the need to espouse a right-wing philosophy in the process. I'll be a legislator whose values reflect the people of this district, from having grown up here and having my own values shaped here, who will stand up for what we believe in without regard to party and without regard to ideology. My commitment to knocking on doors and talking to voters one-on-one is much more than a campaign strategy. Connecting directly with residents to talk with them one-on-one about what's most important to them is also a governing philosophy for me. It's high time we had our voices heard in the House of Representatives here in Shrewsbury and Westboro. I have the right combination of experience to be the effective voice we need, and I'm going to be an accessible, available to each and every resident of this district so that you can be heard on Beacon Hill as well, and I hope you'll all help me do this. Thank you so much for coming out tonight.